So continuing with the cardiovascular system, cerebral, so we are talking about the blood flow control. The lecture now is about the cutaneous blood flow control. We've done the skeletal muscle, pulmonary tissue, renal tissue, splanchnic tissue. Now is the skin, the blood flow control of the skin. Now, first thing about the skin blood flow control. One, primarily extrinsic. We have done the lectures about the extrinsic and intrinsic control. Extrinsic control means that the blood flow is controlled by the agents from outside, that is sympathetic system, parasympathetic system, and the circulating hormones like angiotensin 2 and epinephrine. So extrinsic control does not have a lot of intrinsic control. What that means is skin doesn't do any activity that produces metabolites that causes the vasoconstrictions. That doesn't happen. Skin does not do muscular activities. So extrinsic control primarily. Within that, there is an interesting one. One is the sympathetic activity, and the other one is temperature control. Temperature affecting the circulation to the skin. This is the only viscera that has, in physiological conditions, blood flow change due to the temperature change. And that is one of the primary functions of the skin. Skin has many functions, but one of the functions of the skin and the blood flow of to the skin, the primary function of the flow of the blood to the skin is temperature control. So let's see how both of these systems work. So, and we should, when we talk about temperature control, we should talk about what happens during the cold and what happens during the hot times. So here in this diagram, we've gotten a piece of skin where there is an artery which is bringing the blood in. This artery is then dividing into the arterioles and then capillaries are combining to make venules, veins, and finally this is the vein that is coming out of it. There is sympathetic activity, so sympathetic innervation comes to the arteries and veins in case of skin circulation or blood flow control to the skin. The innervation to the veins is also important. For example, we just talked about skeletal muscle and we said innervation to the vein is not that important, but here venous innervation is also important. And here we have anterior hypothalami, and they have the temperature control sensors, or they have specialized neurons that can sense the temperature, and according to that they would help reset the temperature by doing multiple activities in the body, which we'll talk about in a second. Here we have a piece of the skin. So let's say we've taken a small piece from here and we have made it bigger. So this is this piece of the skin here, and we'll talk about it, that when there is control that occurs, what happens to the blood vessels. And so the structures here are interesting. This is a hair. Why is the hair important? We'll talk about it. For the temperature control, it is important. This is, of course, a piloerector muscle. Piloerector muscle, or the muscles that are attached to the hair. This is a sebaceous gland or a sweat gland. Of course, this is an artery dividing into smaller arteries and then arterioles and then capillaries becoming a vein after becoming collected again. So that is the structure that we have. So let's start with the extrinsic control through the autonomic nervous system. We have our skin vessels have sympathetic and parasympathetic receptors, but sympathetic innervation, both on arteries and the vessels. What happens is that whenever sympathetic innervation is stimulated, alpha-1 receptors are predominantly present in the skin vessels, and they will cause vasoconstriction. So alpha-1 GQ protein receptors. Alpha-1 receptors are present that would cause vasoconstriction. Vasoconstriction would cause what? That would reduce the blood volume coming to the skin. Now, in both ways, one is the vasoconstriction here on the arterial side also will reduce blood pressure. Remember that the blood pressure in a vessel is a difference of the pressure between the 2 points. So if you increase the resistance on this part, on the beginning part, then the pressure in the rest will reduce. Pressure upstream will increase, but pressure downstream will reduce. So when we have vasoconstriction for arteriolar sphincters or arterioles, then the blood pressure in the skin would reduce. And when we have vasoconstriction or venoconstriction of the veins, then the blood volume in the skin would also reduce. So what is the benefit of that? That the benefit is that now lesser amount of blood is exposed to a large surface area from which heat exchange is happening. So again, the benefit of vasoconstriction or vasomotor activity in the blood vessels to the skin is for temperature regulation or heat exchanges. Okay, so that is a sympathetic activity. Both pressure and volume will reduce when the sympathetic activity has increased. Now, how do we see that in terms of temperature control? So very interesting mechanism here. We know that anterior hypothalamus has modified neurons that would assess the temperature, and our normal temperature, which we say set point, normal set point is 37 degrees centigrade. So that is a normal set point, that is a normal temperature. However, in certain cases, this set point can go up. For example, in case of fever, what happens in the fever? In case of fever, what happens is that all those metabolites produced by infections and the tissue damage, for example, interleukins, they go and they affect the hypothalamus, and they irritate these neurons that are present here, these temperature sensors. And neurons, by mistake, they think that the temperature control is actually, instead of 37, let's say it is 38 degrees centigrade or 39 degrees centigrade. So because these neurons are now confused and they think that the temperature should be higher, and that higher temperature is normal temperature for them, all of a sudden the body has to get an order to increase the temperature. How do we increase the temperature? Number one, we start shivering. Shivering causes the muscle to be alternatively contracted and relaxed. That would increase the muscle activity, that would produce heat, and that would create temperature, increased temperature. So we'll start shivering at the beginning of a fever. So let's say we got some pathogen, that pathogen started attacking us. Our temperature was 37 degrees centigrade. All of a sudden, the order came from the hypothalamus to say, go to 39 degrees centigrade. So when this is happening, when we're going from 37 to 39 degrees, then the first thing that would happen is the shivering would start happening, right? It depends how sharply we want to go up. Second thing is, what do you want to do with the skin? Do you want to send a lots of blood to the skin so that heat exchange occurs and the heat goes out? No, we want to conserve the blood. We want to move the blood from the heat, from the skin to the core of the body, so that there is less blood available for the heat exchange and less heat is dissipated away. So we need vasoconstriction in the skin. How would we do that? We'll do that through the sympathetic system. So that means that sympathetic system would also become triggered when we are going from temperature which is low to a higher temperature. And as soon as you do that, the pressure will reduce, blood flow would reduce, velocity would actually become faster because the diameter has become smaller. Increased velocity would make the blood quickly get out without dissipating too much of the temperature. Isn't that funny? And at the same time, blood volume in the skin would also reduce. So all of these, pressure reduction, velocity increase, volume reduction, will cause less heat dissipation and will start conserving the temperature inside the core of the body. So that is how the temperature would increase. So shivering, and skin vasoconstriction. Cool. And mothers know it. When the babies who are going to get some otitis media or who are going to get some infection in their GIT system, they start shivering and they start, having this cold, clammy skin. Mothers know that what's coming is the temperature change and the fever is going to come. Now, do you think what should happen to the sweat glands at that time? Sweat glands should not sweat a lot because sweat is a mechanism to dissipate heat as well. So sweat glands would actually become shrunken as well as a result of the sympathetic cholinergic activity. So remember this. This is one area where sympathetic system on the sweat glands releases acetylcholine instead of adrenaline or noradrenaline. So this is cholinergic sympathetic activity, and sweat gland actually will be suppressed from the activity. What about the hair? What do you want to do with the hair? Look, what hairs do is, and for humans it is less important, in other animals it is more, who have gotten a thick coat or fur. But what happens is that when a hair becomes erected on the skin, it actually tries to capture, or the idea is, or theory is, or the hope is that will trap air between the hair. So we'll create a blanket of air here. And air is insulating, so that would preserve the temperature as well. On the other hand, if you want to dissipate the temperature, then the hair will become flat with the skin and they will not trap any air between them, and so then the dissipation is easier. So what should happen when the fever is happening? The hair will also, piloerector muscle will also become contracted and the hair will become relatively straight. That would cause a puff of air to be trapped in this area, and that is the insulating air. What is happening to the sweat glands? Suppressed. Hair have become relatively straight. The arteries are constricted, veins are constricted, pressure is low, volume is low, velocity is high. That is what happens when we are increasing the temperature inside and reducing the dissipation of the heat. Now do it the other way around. So this is also the similar mechanism in cold. Why do you go out in the cold weather and start shivering? Same mechanism. When you go out in cold, body needs to preserve the heat and create the heat. So the same mechanism as you go through the fever, that would happen. Now, how about hot temperature? This would also mean, let's say this was the infectious time. The patient had infection, then either the body took control of it or you gave some antibiotics. The end result is that interleukin production and other such system metabolite production that cause hypothalamus to go haywire, they became reduced. Hypothalamus came back to its senses and said, oh man, the temperature should be 37. So now we want to come back to 37. So from here, higher temperature, we want to come back. Now what happens during coming back? How does the skin help now dissipate the energy? So we'll reverse all those mechanisms. First of all, what should happen? Blood vessels should expand, they should dilate so that there is more flow, more pressure, less velocity of the blood, and more heat exchange occurs or heat dissipation occurs. So alpha 1 or sympathetic activity will reduce when we want to